Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hi, I'm Rose Davidson from Talking with the Experts. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Global Glamping Charities for their valued support. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org. Do you love your podcast and dislike the editing and uploading to the various platforms? Would you like to spend this time with your family and friends or work on your business? Podcast editing doesn't have to be a chore. Talking with the Experts partners with podcasters who need help with audio and content editing. If you'd like to know more, contact me, Rose Davidson, using the link showing now or send me a private message.
Talking with the Experts.
In episode 432, Damian Andrews demystifies the simple and easy business steps to grow your revenue and your profit.
Well, yeah, with business, there's a number of areas. Firstly, one of the things I work with companies is clearly identifying where you want to go. And I break that down into three areas. One is, obviously there's money. So what sort of revenue do you want? What sort of profit do you want? Which is where part of the focus is going, how much effort are we putting in? And I call it ROE, return on effort. What is your return on effort for this? Because we can spend a lot of time doing busy work and it doesn't give us much bang for our buck, or you can focus on a couple of things that give you a lot of bang for your buck. So that's really where we drill down as far as the revenue side of goals go.
Talking with the Experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Today my guest is Damian Andrews, and he's going to be talking about life is easy if you want it to be. And he likes demystifying the simple and easy business steps to growing the revenue and profit in your business. And Damian, he has drawn skills learned as a CEO, a business founder, an operational efficiency professional, commercial and contracts expert, a corporate recovery specialist, and in Australia's Special Air Force Regiment. Damian Andrews demystifies the simple and easy business steps to growing your revenue and your profit. Welcome, Damian, and thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, Rose. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
My great pleasure. Tell me a little bit about, after all the skills that you've got, how you ended up what you're doing.
Well, that probably takes me back to being in school, and when I didn't like being at school. I think like most people, we didn't want to be at school. And when I was nearing the end there, my dad said I wasn't allowed to leave school unless I had a job. And the Army recruitment people came around a couple of weeks later, and I said, oh, this is great. I'll get out of school and go and join the Army. And I did that. And after running around basic training in the bush, Australia, as you know, we only have one bush. We don't have, forests. We just have the bush. So after running around the bush for a little while in basic training, I thought, this is probably not what I want to be doing. And I was mature enough to recognize I wasn't going to get one of the good jobs after basic training, like in signals or some of those areas that people have. And anyone that didn't get one of those jobs, which were limited, went off to the infantry. But there was one position no one was applying for. And I thought, oh, cool. And I was 18 at that time. And an 18-year-old male, you can imagine what my focus was. And the position was, a chef's position. I was thinking, my first thought was women like guys that can cook. That was my first thought. And the second thought was it gets me out of infantry. And the third thought might be it gives me a career if I get out of the Army. Anyway, so I went and did that. I went to the School of Cooks in in the army, which they teach a really fine culinary ability, because you've got to be able to cook for officers and all these
My husband was a
very
cook in the army.
yeah, so it's actually you're trained very well. But while I was there at Pakipanual, I got one of the guys on my class was being asked if he wanted to go to Perth, and he'd just come from Perth and said he didn't want to go back. And I just said, yeah, I'll go, no problem. And they said, well, okay, if you pass the psychological test, you can go. And I went, yeah, no problem. Didn't even think about what it was. Well, didn't give it a thought. So I've gone and done the test, passed it, drove across the Nullarbor. So I packed up my car, had a Datsun 280B, then little SX version, little sports thing. So yeah, so I packed that up, drove across the Nullarbor, and then I arrived and I was actually posted to the SAS. I had no idea where I was getting myself in for. And so then I ended up being, jumping out of airplanes and, going rock climbing, parasailing into caves, diving off submarines, doing all this different stuff, which was so much fun to get paid to actually do this stuff as an adventure. And I also learned to cook. And then I got out, came back. I spent a bit of time working in the mines up in northwestern Australia, near Marble Bar, which is one of the hottest places in Australia. Came back, worked in, decided my dad was a bit smarter about this education thing. So I enrolled in university as a mature age student and studied commerce, accounting and law. Wouldn't recommend any of those for excitement, but I would recommend them if you wanted to get into business and do well. Pretty much, certainly in business, and also it helps a lot with life. So worked in corporate recovery for a long time, about 8 or 9 years. If you term that long, I guess it's relative. Took over a lot of companies. I like to think of myself as, like Richard Gere out of Pretty Woman, taking over companies and breaking them up. Maybe I don't have the looks or the hair, but I had hair back then. And then I went out and I did some work by myself, and that just morphed into doing my own consulting type work. And now, I've started a few companies and helping other people with their companies. And I spend a lot of time working on, simple things that people tend to overlook, that they're right there in front of them going, hey, why don't you try that? You've got all these other clients, you haven't contacted them from a while. And one of my clients went from, this was during COVID, or before COVID, I started working with them, and then COVID hit. And they were a smaller business doing about 8 million turnover. And through COVID, we took them up to $25 million just by doing simple little actions that, they had available to them, but just overlooked. And we get stuck in doing the busyness of the day and not really thinking about what's available to us, and all those, I call them acres of diamonds right under the soil, right in front of you. And you just got to just pluck them out. And that's what partly what I help business do today.
And what are those little diamonds, Damian?
Well, yeah, with business, there's a number of areas. Firstly, one of the things I work with companies is clearly identifying where you want to go. And I break that down into 3 areas. One is, obviously there's money. So what sort of revenue do you want? What sort of profit do you want? I had that with an organization where they wanted to get to a substantial amount of profit. And I said, not profit, revenue. They just kept going revenue. And I said, what about profit? And they just know revenue. They had this big number in their sights. And it was like, okay, all right, we'll just go along with that. And they hit the target, but they lost money. And so I really focus on, what is it that you want as far as an overall picture. And I had that with, there was a business there were 3 guys that had a plumbing business, and they were turning over 15 mil. So they're doing quite well as far as that going. They were making a decent profit, but they were working 7 days a week, flat out. They had a lot of difficult clients. And so what they did was said, okay, don't want to do this way anymore. We want a lifestyle. And so what they did was they cut their, basically went through their clients and said, okay, the crappy clients, we're just going to get rid of. Not going to deal with them anymore. Refer them to our competition. That's what I say to do when you've got a difficult client. Refer them to your competition. And so they did, and their revenue dropped from 15 million to 10 million in round figures. So there's a substantial drop. That's a third of their income gone. But what they found is they actually had more time in the day. So they only worked standard hours 5 days a week. And so they had time with their families on the weekend. The biggest thing that they noticed is because they weren't dealing with all these clients that were actually costing them money, they made more profit. They actually made more money. So even though at $15 million, they were making a good profit, at $10 million, they were making more profit, which is where part of the focus is going, how much effort are we putting in? And I call it ROE, return on effort. What is your return on effort for this? Because we can spend a lot of time doing busy work and it doesn't give us much bang for our buck, or you can focus on a couple of things that give you a lot of bang for your buck. So that's really where we drill down as far as the revenue side of goals go. And working out, okay, what they are. We make a big list and then we cull it down to, okay, what are the key things we're going to focus on at the moment? And then there's the second one is operational goals. And this is how, what do you want to do as far as how the operations run? So this is everything you need to do, whether it's for a product you're producing or a service that you're providing. What are the things that need to happen for that product or service to happen? And then it's working out how do we do that and how do we make that more efficient? And I have a unique program that I implement in companies where it's called, it is what it says. It's like Australia, we name things what they're called. We have the coast road because it goes along the coast. The peninsula is a peninsula. So I have a continuous improvement program that I implement. And when I implement that in companies, it's really interesting how the company dynamic changes. And there's a couple of little things in there that I implement. One of them is a no excuse policy. So when someone has a task to do, they can report that they haven't done it, but they can't give an excuse, which is really interesting what that does for motivation, because people all of a sudden, when they can't give an excuse as to why they haven't done it, all they can say is, I didn't do it. It really ramps up the motivation of getting things done. So it's an interesting policy and it works really well. And you have a bit of fun with it as well. It's not a blame policy. If you didn't do it, it's not you blame people. It's just you're not allowed to give an excuse. But also the continuous improvement program that I implement, what I found, I didn't do this as a plan, but it was a byproduct, which was when companies implement it, I find it's amazing how much the complaints within the organization almost completely stop. They disappear. It's an interesting thing that it was a byproduct. I was surprised at how that happened. And how the system works as well with operationals. It's how we implement change as well, because that's part of continuous improvement. You want to have change. And you know what I mean, when we talk about complaints, there's two things that people complain about: the way things are and change. So
you can't get away from either of them.
Exactly. But what I've found is there are ways to implement change where people adopt it really quickly. And I had this with one of my clients. It was another company where they're an entrenched engineering firm that had been around for its second generation. So the sons had taken over the business. A lot of the employees were from when the dad was running the business. So they'd been there a long time, a lot of older people. A lot of the systems were analog. So even like the timekeeping was paper time cards. It's quite antiquated in how their operational systems were operating. We wanted to implement some more modern systems. And so we went through a process with one of the systems we were implementing. And I had a 2-hour training that I planned for them and made it a bit of fun, but took away a bit of the fear, showed them how this would be much more beneficial. And this is where, from a psychological perspective, understanding how we're motivated. So a lot of that I implement in the work that I do is implement how do we make people want to be drawn towards it, and people are attracted to compliments, those kind of things. It makes people feel good. So at this training, everyone turned up. They knew what it was going to be about. But it was what I found most interesting is they had to go from a paper system to a digital system where they all had an app on their phone to do the reporting. And these people, we're talking about people in their 50s that have been around forever, doing everything old school. Half of the audience had downloaded the app and started using it, logged in, started using it during the training, the 2-hour training that I delivered. And I mentioned that I was going to take some time implementing it, keep the old system. A number of people came up to me after and said, why can't we just go straight to the new system? And So it's not about what you're trying to do, it's how you're trying to do it. And that's what we try and work with the organizational goals, is go, okay, what do we clearly need to do to keep the efficiency there, keep the motivation there, and how do we change and continually change to stay ahead? Because as you're aware, in life we're either growing or we're dying. That's just the way nature works. So you need to be constantly, improving what you're doing. And if you make little improvements regularly and that becomes part of your culture, it becomes easy. And that's the third area where we set goals is culture. What sort of culture do you want? And that links back to values. And this, especially today, now that we have an employee scarcity, it is quite difficult to find employees. To become an employer of choice, you want to have the right culture where people connect to what you're doing, your purpose. And if you can get that right, you'll attract people that like being where you're being at your organization. They're motivated by being there and they really enjoy coming to work and doing well. And part of that culture, there's three things I've found that people really want is they want to be heard. They want to learn, and they want to help. And if you facilitate a culture that enables people to do that, you'll find that the people that fit with your values will just love coming to work and love being part of that organization. So that is well, it's probably not a nutshell. It's a bit of an expanded nutshell, but really focusing on the revenue, the operation, and the culture, and putting some key systems in there and implementing that.
You're a man after my own heart.
It's an honor. Thank you.
All of those things, I've been, when I used to work in corporate, is the things that I used to talk about a lot, because most of the organizations I worked in were quite toxic, and I think things that I would do would be the things that you've just alluded to. So honestly, I love it. I think it's wonderful. I think every organisation should take on those challenges, because a lot of people don't think that they're too soft, and it's not true. I think if organisations took on those things that you've just described, they'd be a lot better, I think.
It certainly changes the culture when they implement those processes and have a clear focus, certainly having the underlying purpose and allowing people to know what that purpose is. It significantly changes that culture and the dynamic with the workforce, and people become really motivated. Not everyone wants to be a boss. Not everyone wants to be a business owner. Some people, and this is the thing where I think we've got lost in I was going to use a brand there, but I don't want to do that. This culture where it's like you've got to be 110% at everything, but not everyone wants to be an Elon Musk or wants to be a billionaire. And a lot of people want to enjoy time with their family. They're happy with a reasonable level of income. They just want to enjoy their life. They want to be committed to what they're doing and passionate about what they're doing when they're at work, because they spend a lot of time at work. But and then they want to spend time with their family and friends and go down the beach or go bushwalking, or the things that they like to do outside of work, and creating an environment where people can be passionate about their work, where they can get their work done. And that's one of the programs I have within my exceptional effort package. There's a what I call Max Time. It's a time management program. And it really shows how to get employees to get their work done very quickly and effectively. And then they can shut off and go home, spend time with their family. They then come back to the office, recharge, and have another power day where they got lots done. And it becomes a nice balance, which I think most people want, is this work-life balance, to enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you're right. A lot of people just do not. I mean, if they're working for somebody else, they just want to, their 9 to 5, just using that as a round figure, but, work their 8 hours a day or 7.5 hours, whatever the case may be, and have weekends off and, spend time for themselves. But they want to be able to come to work and know that they're valued as a person, they're not just someone that's sitting behind a desk and then not just a number within an organisation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we set up, certainly within Max Time, we talk about it's not just time management, it's really the underlying things that drive how we feel good about our day. So whether it's you're a part of an organization and it was originally structured for organizations, but I'll be soon launching it as an individual course where individuals can do this. So you can set yourself up every day. So you go to bed at night just feeling top of the world, because that's my day. I don't have bad days. I don't have a day where I'm upset and frustrated. At the end of every day, I go to bed going, man, what a great day. I did this, and I feel really good about it. And I'm looking forward to getting up the next day. And so it was a corporate program that I had, but now I've done I've adjusted it so that it can be for an individual, and that'll be launched probably maybe end of April on the website. We've got an update coming to the website where everything's going to change, and we'll have these programs available for individuals as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, because a lot of entrepreneurs out there, would like to sometime in the future, build a team, and trainings like that would be really helpful when they start bringing people on to help with different other tasks that they don't like or don't have time for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I wanted to do, because a lot of the work that I get is via referral. So I not really advertised much and not thought about it beyond that. And I've had some other things going on in my life as well where I just didn't want to do that. And it was part of that work-life balance. I wanted to be focused on what I needed to do so I could do other things in my family that I needed to focus on. And now those family things have sorted out, and it's all okay to from my side of things. It's like, now I want to do these other things, and we've been putting that together in the background, and said we expect to have, aiming for end of April, hopefully before end of March, but I'm saying end of April. I'm a Star Trek fan from a long time ago. Yeah, Scotty on Star Trek used to say, always double the amount of time you say it's going to take to do it, and then when you do it in half the time, you look like a miracle worker. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Damian, where can people find you if they want to know more or indeed work with you?
It's fairly easy to find me. If you just Google my name, every link on the front page. I've never looked beyond that to see, how far in the back I go. But certainly if you Google Damian Andrews, I'm every link on the front page of Google, or you can go to my website, damianandrews.com. And also too, if in any podcast, if you search Damian Andrews, I have a podcast which is under the foundation that I have, which is share.care, SHAIR, strong, healthy and inspiring relationships, .care. And we have a podcast there where we talk about things to do with creating strong, healthy, inspiring relationships, motivation, health, those kind of things. So that's a passion of mine to focus in that area. So that's where you can also reach me via that podcast as well. And there's also a social media platform that we actually have our own social media platform under share.care as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, my passion is supporting family and domestic violence survivors, victim survivors. I have a podcast share with someone. It's called Healing Through Love. Yeah, and we run free pamper days in Adelaide for survivors. So yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
so I'd have to connect on that, because there's a organisation in Queensland called Financial Superwomen, and they provide financial education for women victims of family violence. And I'm actually bringing that course down to Melbourne. We've got the first one happening on the 4th of March this month. So cool. Happy to share those details with you if you've got people that might.
We'll get together on email afterwards. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. I'm just going to go and click on your LinkedIn profile and connect with you in this.
Definitely. Always like to connect with people. It's great to, so many wonderful people out there that, have so much to share. So it's great.
Yeah, and I love what you're doing with, individuals and corporates with your training. I think it's a much needed commodity in the world at the moment. I think, there's so much change happening and a lot of people aren't comfortable with change. And
one of the things that we've got, sorry, yes, go ahead.
It's not easy to accept change when you're a bit long in the tooth, I suppose, and you've been doing something for so long. And you don't see the benefit of the why you're going to change something, because it's
you've hit that nail right on the head there, though. Yeah, it's when you don't see the benefit. But I think the long in the tooth, as I said, the organization that I mentioned before, a lot of the people there were much older. But once you show them how they can do it, and also too that they can do it, and that they've got the support to do it, I think, and that's where I personally believe people that are older actually learn faster if you approach it the right way. And I remember when I got my motorbike license many, many, many years ago, the instructor talked about how older people getting their license, their motorbike license, were at lower risk than younger people because they just had that broader life experience. And that's where I find people, who have more experience, long in the tooth, as you referred to, they're a great source of knowledge, especially in a company, because, I mean, this is where, I find it fascinating. I've always found it fascinating when companies, especially big corporates, go and look for improvement. They'll go to an external organization to give them some advice. And these people have no idea how the company operates. They're just taking some report, then churning it out and then trying to understand it. Or they'll have a lessons learned, which is, once after a project, and then it never gets looked at again. Yet they've got so many people that are quote unquote long in the tooth that have so much knowledge. And that's where my continuous improvement program taps into that, draws out that knowledge from them, because you're paying for the people anyway, and they've got so much knowledge. Why not use that and implement it? It's free.
Yeah, I totally agree 100% with that. Yeah, it use what you have, and the older ones in the organization and have been there, a long time, or even if they're new to the organization, they've still got skills, knowledge, and stuff to give an organization. Honestly, I think retirement age, I even know I balk at retirement age being so long away from me, but well, it's only like 4 years, but still.
Well, I'm 50, so I'm technically not far away from the official retirement age, but I don't see myself ever retiring. I just enjoy what I do.
Either. I'm 63, and I think I'm still young.
Exactly, that's the way I treat it. It's like you're only as young as you feel.
But they get rid of people at retirement age, and what for? Really, people should be able to work for as long as they can contribute. That's what my belief is.
Well, I noticed that, like with one of the bigger hardware chains, they actually have a policy now of employing older people because they have that experience, they have that real life experience that they can draw on, and share that. So I think you're 100% right there. There's so much knowledge out there. And it's particularly important too, because as much as there was this thing of overpopulation, but the reality is it's going the other way now. We're entering a shortage where the rates of birth are not sufficient to keep up with the way that's going to the death rate as it goes forward, putting it that way. But over the next 20 years, we're in for a period where we actually could have shrinking population, but we've got so many people with so much knowledge and resources that want to do something, that want to be part of that. There's only so much caravanning you can do. It's not that exciting. I've been in a caravan. It's not fun.
Yeah, I remember when I turned 40. Yeah, I remember when I turned 40, which was a while ago, but you were like classified as being too old to be employable. That's what I was actually told that by an employment agency. I was too old to be employable. And I thought, oh my God, they just want these young girls in short skirts. And I thought, but, they don't have any grey matter between the ears, basically.
There are some out there that don't. That's true. There is a large number, and while I've experienced a number of younger people that are quite motivated and highly,
I wasn't
highly
back then,
intelligent
though,
as well, but yeah, no, and so there are some I think across the board. There's certainly some younger people, and I've dealt with one in particular that I tried to help for a long time, and just wasn't interested, and finally needed the mother bird treatment, where the mother bird kicks the bird out of the nest, and they either fly or they hit the ground, and this is what this person had to do, and got a big boot out, and it started to fly a little bit. So, and that's really what it took, a bit of tough love.
Yeah, that's it. But it's so hard now. For the older generation to get employed, and I think they should stay employed for as long as possible. But I love your program. I love what it stands for and what it's about, and I encourage people to go and check out your website and get in touch with you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on the show, and certainly, happy to reach out to anyone that contacts me via Rose's platform.
Perfect. Damian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure, Rose. Anytime.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.